So here's going to be my review of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, the new ride at Disneyland based on The Princess and the Frog. The ride has actually been open for months now at the Magic Kingdom in Orlando, but Disneyland is finally just getting its time to shine just ahead of the busy holiday season. I was able to go on an early preview of the ride before its official November 15th opening day, and now here's my review. Admittedly, calling this a new ride is a bit of a stretch, as it's actually a re-theme or reskin of the ride formerly known as Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain was a log fume water ride, taking characters and songs from the controversial Disney film Song of the South, adding the singing animatronics from the closed attraction known as America Sings, and then boom, you have a classic ride that had a 30+ year run. Splash Mountain was my favorite Disney ride, for its music, its thrills, its story, its characters, and its great controversy. I do find it a very odd and interesting concept having a high-profile ride based on a movie that Disney itself has tried to hide. As the years have gone on and in today's world, there's no way Splash Mountain in its current form was going to last. There's actually a fair amount of good qualities about the film it's based on, the Song of the South, which a lot of people haven't seen because it's not really on home video, Disney Plus, or any kind of official media. The songs and animated segments and the characters are excellent and a lot of fun in the film, but if you've seen the movie, you would understand why it's problematic. And eventually it was only a matter of time before Disney rethemed Splash Mountain, and they made the smart choice to base it on a relatively modern Disney film that portrays African Americans in obviously a more positive and acceptable fashion. If you didn't know, Song of the South took place shortly after the Civil War in the Reconstruction era and glorified an area where African Americans were still under some form of servitude to white families. On a side note though, I do find it unfortunate Disney just completely Thanos snapping Song of the South. Zippity Doo Dah was an iconic Disney song. People love those animated bits and characters from the film, and Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear. And say what you will about the film's portrayal of African Americans, but the guy that played Uncle Remus, James Baskett, won an Oscar for his performance, and to essentially erase an award-winning performance from a black actor from the 1940s is something I do find very unfortunate. Anyways, end rant, on to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. The re-theme of Splash Mountain was announced in 2020. Splash Mountain officially closed May of 2023. I waited in a 4-hour line for the final splash, and a year and a half later, Tiana's Bayou Adventure opens in Disneyland. As mentioned, it's been open for months in Orlando, but I don't live in Orlando, I live in Anaheim. I also avoided watching any walkthrough videos of the ride as I wanted the ride to be a fresh experience for me when I got on it. Tiana's Bayou Adventure takes place after the events of The Princess and the Frog, as you journey with Tiana and her gator pal Louis on a bayou adventure to find musical playing critters to play at their big New Orleans party later that evening. I think the choice to go with a sequel type story is one that I'm a little mixed on. Typically rides of this type based on the movies just end up being a summary of the film. See most of the Fantasyland rides like Pinocchio's Daring Journey or Peter Pan's Flight for an example. Or right across from Tiana's Bayou Adventure in The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. There is something to be admired in doing a story that serves as a sequel to the film. Unfortunately, this leads to the exclusion of a lot of fun elements from the movie that would have been amazing to see in ride fashion, but I'll get more into that later. Now, the thing I was looking most forward to with Tiana's Bayou Adventure was the animatronics. Even as much as I love Splash Mountain, some of those animatronics for Brer Rabbit looked like modern day animatronics for Disney rides in Tokyo Disneyland and Shanghai Disneyland, with the Beauty and the Beast ride or the Frozen ride, look incredible, and I couldn't wait to see that style brought over to the West Coast. Right from the start, the look of the animatronics for Tiana and Luis look incredible. Just the fluidity of movement, the facial expressions for Tiana, it's just some amazing tech that's next level. We've come a long ways from the great moments with Mr. Lincoln. This leads me to say that this is a beautiful looking re-theme. It has a couple of moments that just stood out to me as wow. Your first indoor sequence after the first drop when you see the fireflies look perfect, and they had the obvious yet perfect choice in music, playing Going Down the Bayou, which helped things also. I was also super impressed with the final section where the old Zippity Doo Dah finale was. Visually, there's just a ton to grab your attention with the characters and listening to the original song here, and just appreciating things on a technical level. The good retheming extends to the actual outside look of the ride, and how the retheming of the queue looks into Tiana's kitchen or whatever that opening area was supposed to be. Now, I talked about before how there is something to be admired with the choice of going with an original story, which is something that basically none of the rides based on Disney movies do. Splash Mountain itself was a retelling of the stories Uncle Remus told in that film, of Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear. But rides make this choice to follow the movie as it allows you to include the iconic parts of the film that Disney fans would want to see. It may be interesting at first to see Tiana in an adventure Bayou outfit, but I guess looking back at it, I'd rather see the ride focus on elements from the actual movie and hearing songs that people would like to see, like Are You Ready and When We're Human, instead of excluding characters like Ramon, Dr. Facilier, and essentially Prince Naveen, who's relegated to a background cameo appearance at the end. The most disappointing exclusion is having no Dr. Facilier, the film's main antagonist. When concepts of this ride were being thought up of back in 2020 when they announced it, one of the most exciting possibilities was having Dr. Facilier's song, Are You Ready, playing when you're going up for the final drop. This would have perfectly captured the feeling of danger that you should feel going up for a final drop type sequence, just like Splash Mountain had. In Splash Mountain, as you're about to go up for the final drop, you had those vultures giving you those ominous threats telling you you're f***ed as you're getting ready to go up the final ascent, and then you see Brer Rabbit tied up ready to face his apparent doom and being thrown into the briar patch, aka the final drop. Tiana's Bayou Adventure gives the middle finger to this concept, as the final drop section here is just an absolute joke, with a happy-go-lucky, fun-fueled ascent down Mama Odie's home, I guess. I didn't know until recently that Dr. Facilier was, I guess, subject to some form of controversy recently because of his voodoo shenanigans, which has been deemed as controversial, which is probably the reason why he was left out of this ride entirely. What an absolute joke and f***ing ridiculous that the coolest Disney villain of the last 20 years might be essentially cancelled. I also think in hindsight that the story for this ride is pretty goddamn silly. Tiana and Louis traveling down the bayou searching for musical playing critters to play at their party. Saying that out loud sounds stupid as f***. The obvious main reason they went with the whole musical critter thing was to fill in the parts that made up a major part of Splash Mountain, and that was the America Sings animals singing in between the parts that had Brer Rabbit, Fox, and Bear. It doesn't make for a great story for this ride, but I can understand why it was done this way. But I can imagine a way that a combination of retelling the film story and incorporating the needed elements to fill in this ride could have worked. The ride, though, did have a lot of elements that were very wholesome and did make me feel happy. Seeing the changes to the opening line cue and seeing Tiana's family pictures in her kitchen and her rewards for her business were very charming. As I mentioned, I love the look of the ride throughout, with my favorite section being the ending section. There's just so many characters, beautiful animatronics, and just a pleasant looking area. What wasn't pleasant to look at were the sections, though, that had some screens that used CGI imagery of Tiana, Louis, and Mama Odie. It would have been much more aesthetically pleasant to see their proper 2D cells, and the fact that they use CG versions is very disrespectful to what was Disney's last major 2D animated project. Overall, Tiana's Bayou Adventure is not a perfect slam dunk reskin of the world of Princess and the Frog put into Splash Mountain. Visually, though, save for some little issues, it was technically and visually very impressive and had a solid amount of charm throughout. That's why I'm going to say it's a mostly good time overall, but it did have the potential to be a lot more. Personally, I definitely liked Splash Mountain a lot more, and even though Brer Rabbit and friends might be retired in Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom, you can amazingly still find them in an untouched Splash Mountain in Tokyo Disneyland, which hopefully I can visit eventually. So that'll do it for this review of Tiana's Bayou Adventure in Disneyland. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.
See y'all again soon.